In the center of Italy, there is a surprising region steeped in history and culture. Doted with exceptional culinary know-how and surprising countryside. Parma, Modena, Bologna, or Rimini. From its great cities to the depths of its countryside, Emilia-Romagna offers visitors an authentic opportunity for discovery at the heart of the Italian peninsula. On the banks of the Po, Italy's longest river, across from Lombardy, stands the entry point for Emilia-Romagna, the province of Piacenza. The land is dotted with castles to visit. In the medieval village of Castellarquato, the Rocca Viscontia fortress once defended the whole valley against invaders. It's situated in the Colli Piacentini, an area known for its vines. Wine has been made here for more than 2,000 years. These hillsides cover more than 4,500 hectares. The many valleys joining them include Arda. Here, nestled in an 85-meter cliff face, stands the Gropparello castle. Built in 780, it originally served as a lookout tower for spotting enemy attacks. Every summer, historical reconstructions are organized here. Medieval life is replicated. At the foot of the castle, chivalric combats can be watched while dishes of the period are prepared. This is pizzare e faso, a sort of medieval pasta dish based on breadcrumbs and water. The Rocca and Gropparello form part of a circuit called the Castles of the Duchy. It's made up of 24 buildings to visit. 40 kilometers further north on the banks of the river Trebbia, Rivalta Castle is one of the most visited on the route. Its precise construction date is unknown. The first written trace of its existence goes back to 1025. Its round tower was conceived by the architect Pietro Antonio Solari during major 15th century modifications. The famous Moscow Kremlin towers were modeled on it. Adorning the courtyard are medallions of the Landi family, which has administered this fief for the last 5 centuries. Here is Lord Manfredo Landi, responsible for the most important works on the castle. Overlooking the Hall of Honor is the Landi coat of arms. At its center, the crowned eagle represents the dynasty's fidelity to the Holy Roman Empire, to which it owed its power. The dining room sports a collection of porcelain plates made in Cardiff in the middle of the 19th century. On the nearly 200-year-old walnut table stands a marble decoration inspired by the famous Piazza Navona in Rome. The kitchen is decorated with a unique collection of copper utensils. Saucepans and cake molds cover the walls like works of art. This dwelling place is shrouded in mystery. It's said to be haunted by chef Giuseppe, killed in the 18th century by the butler, whose wife he reputedly threatened. The head chef frequently returns to play with the lights and slam the doors. Events which Princess Margaret apparently witnessed in her bedroom during one of her frequent visits. It is said that even Scotland Yard looked into the affair. But according to Count Orazio Zanardi Landi, who inherited the domain, there's no cause for alarm.
He's a kindly ghost, a practical joker who turns the lights on and off and sets off the fountains. He gets up to all sorts of tricks, but in a gentle way, so as not to frighten us.
In the music room, a surprising collection of 104 18th century vues d'optique is made of perforated perspective etchings. When the room is plunged into darkness, backlighting makes the images look like nocturnal scenes.
This castle is like a child we take care of. It requires constant tidying and finding what work needs to be done. It's not a museum of collected memorabilia. It's the history of our family told through objects and paintings.
The relics of which the Count is most proud are in the armoury. The banners on display are those of his forefathers. They flew above the war galleys during the naval Battle of Lepanto in 1571 between Christians and Turks in the modern-day Gulf of Corinth. The Count is proud of these historic pieces, which are a reminder of the victorious combat which decided the fate of Christianity. The region is crossed by an old Roman road, the Emilian Way. Built in 187 BCE, it draws a straight line from Piacenza to the seashore on the Adriatic coast. It's still a tourist route today, combining culture, gastronomy, and unusual places. In the small town of Fontanellato, 60 kilometers west of Rivalta, is the largest maze in the world. Over 8 hectares, a gigantic forest of 200,000 bamboo stems of more than 20 different species form a labyrinth of galleries worthy of Greek mythology. In antiquity, a labyrinth represented humankind lost in the universe, knowing neither from whence it came nor its destination, advancing towards the unknown in search of answers. This verdant creation was opened to the public in 2015. And promises a meditative stroll to the sounds of the lush surrounding countryside. Let's return to the Emilian Way in the direction of Busseto, one of the unmissable stopovers in this ancient itinerary. This small town is the birthplace of the famous composer Giuseppe Verdi. It is still possible to visit the family home. It's in this very room that the composer of La Traviata, one of the world's best-known operas, was born in early autumn 1813. In this modest building at the crossroads of the provinces of Piacenza and Parma, the Verdis offered board and lodging to travellers. The inn also served as a post house, and even tobacco and spices were sold here. It was in this environment open to the world, ringing with stories of travel and adventure, that the young Giuseppe took his first steps in music at the age of 3. In the town centre, Casa Barezzi has a display of numerous pieces linked with the composer. This is where Antonio Barezzi lived, a rich trader passionate about music, who became Verdi's patron and launched his career. The maestro was very attached to this man, publicly declaring that he owed everything to him. Just opposite on Piazza Verdi, an imposing statue reminds passers-by of the town's love of the artist. It turns its back on the medieval fortress of Rocca Pallavicino, or rather, his theatre. Built in honor of Verdi at the end of his career, he was opposed to this project, which he considered too costly for his small town. Officially, he never set foot inside. When he began, the young prodigy dreamed of a prestigious stage, the Teatro Regio in Parma. 40 kilometers from Busseto, the building was commissioned in 1821 by Marie-Louise, former Empress of the French, who had become Duchess of Parma. The greatest talents performed here by royal invitation. At the age of 24, Verdi took up his quill to beg her to invite him to be performed on the stage of the opera. But the attempt failed. The Duchess's attention was drawn by another maestro, a certain Bellini. The Duchess wrote to her daughter, "Bellini will always please, while Verdi will disappear." But history was to prove Marie-Louise wrong. Verdi became one of the most performed composers in the world, while today the name of Bellini is known only to connoisseurs. Since 2017, the Teatro Regio has also been home to the Accademia Verdiana, a school dedicated to the vocal works of Verdi. Free of charge, it invites and trains the most talented upcoming voices from around the world. In the Sala del Ridotto, where the royal throne once stood, students of the Academy are giving their end-of-year concerts. Chen Zizao, a young Chinese tenor, is singing La Traviata, one of the most performed operas in the world.
The first time I heard La Traviata, I didn't know that it was very difficult to sing. I just thought, wow, this melody is fantastic. And then when I arrived here, I thought, wow, this melody is really very difficult. The voice, the action, the emotion. There are so many things to think about. Verdi is the soul of Emilia-Romagna.
On the Piazza Duomo stands Parma Cathedral. Built in the 12th century, it's the city's most famous monument. Above the main entrance, sculptures in a semicircle evoke the 12 months of the year. May is symbolized by a knight leaving for the Holy Land. In August, the wine barrels are made. And to the right of the sun, the September grape harvest. In December, firewood is cut. Just below, two marble lions carry the columns, like the resurrected Christ supporting his church and followers. The difference in color between the two felines illustrates the two aspects of Jesus, human and divine. In the midst of this opulent collection of art, the crowning work is nestled beneath the dome. The Assumption of the Virgin Mary is one of the major creations of Correggio, one of the great Renaissance painters of the Parma school. Beneath the feet of Jesus, the Virgin in a red and blue gown swirls around with the angels in a spiral, something never before seen. Initially, this audacious representation of a hairless and naked Christ, placed at the same level as humans, caused a scandal amongst art critics. However, what Correggio invented here was the precursor of the Baroque style, more than 80 years before it was to appear. Although the city of Parma is hailed for its beauty, it is renowned for another sort of monument. Since the Middle Ages, Parma Ham has been making mouths water. Today, it's one of the most widely sold types of ham in the world. 9 million hams are sold each year. Another sort of charcuterie highly prized by gourmets is cured in the cellars of the region, culatello di zibello. A luxury product at several hundred euros the kilo, snatched up by great hotels and high-class chefs. Made from locally bred pigs, they are raised in the open for more than 9 months, fed exclusively on corn, berries and chestnuts. During preparation, the ham hock is hand-rubbed with pepper, garlic and wine for hours. In the basement of the restaurant of Massimo Spigaroli, a Michelin-starred chef from Zibello, this family know-how has been handed down for over 200 years.
There is no other charcuterie in the world which smells as good as this. We fill the cellars with grape residue. The culatello captures this intense aroma, which it gives off all year.
Another local product is the pride of all Italy, Parmigiano Reggiano. The origins of this hard cheese go back to the 12th century. The recipe is said to come from the neighboring Benedictine and Cistercian abbeys. The breed of cow used for production, the Rossa Reggiana, gives milk particularly rich in protein, calcium and phosphorus. Nearly 4 million rounds leave dairies each year. It's the third most sold cheese in the world after mozzarella and cheddar. Although fabrication has been industrialized to guarantee quality regulations, one gesture hasn't changed in 10 centuries. Igno is a quality controller. Each day he hammers the rounds, listening for a particular sound produced by air bubbles and imperfections.
This gesture seems very simple, but it is indispensable in order to guarantee and brand the cheese. The secret is to listen to the cheese in order to ascertain its quality.
It takes its name from the two provinces which produce it, Parmigiano for Parma and Reggiano for Reggio Emilia.
This cheese is an important Italian heritage.
40 kilometers from Parma, Reggio Emilia is not exclusively known for its cheese, but also for its Republican heritage. It's in this place that the first Italian Republic was founded in 1797. In the council chamber, the race was on to come up with the first Italian flag. Although the white and the red were unanimous choices, the third color was not immediately chosen. The Jacobins would have preferred the blue of the French flag, while those faithful to the papacy preferred the yellow of the flag of the Papal States. It was finally green which was chosen, and this room passed down to posterity as the room of the tricolor. The city center is a meeting hub for all generations. By bicycle or on foot, at the end of the afternoon, people converge here for time with friends. At the entrance of the Ceviche Museum, a giant bird adorns the facade. This surprising work consists of 12,000 photos taken during and after the confinement periods of 2020 by the inhabitants of the province of Reggio Emilia. Image editing software then chose the ones to be transformed into this blue peacock. For some, this creature symbolizes the coming together of God and humankind. This one is an ode to joy for having survived the pandemic together. A few tens of kilometers away lies the province of Modena, birthplace of many legendary cars. The Ferrari car manufacturing company has built 3 museums here dedicated to its history. The latest of these, built in 2012, stands on the site of the house where Enzo Ferrari was born, the creator of the brand. Inside, a large screen projection recounts his youth as a mechanic in the family workshop. His debut as a racing driver, then as sports director, up until the creation of the company, which bears his name, Ferrari. Over more than 2,500 square meters, the family treasures are exhibited. On this podium stands the very first model constructed under the brand in 1947, the 125S. This racing car could reach speeds of up to 170 kilometers an hour. The 250 GT is the most expensive model in the world. One 1962 version sold for more than $51 million. This is the 1971 Berlinetta Boxer, the year when oil companies began officially publishing scientific studies confirming the link between petrol consumption and climate change. In a place on the outskirts of the city, another emblematic figure of Emilia-Romagna is honored, Luciano Pavarotti. In the house of his birth, objects and photos retrace the life of this tenor. Considered the greatest and most popular opera singer in the world, he rubbed shoulders with the world's greats, packed out immense concert halls during his international tours, and sold more than 100 million albums. This son of a baker, native of the province of Modena, who never learned to read music, helped bring opera music to the people through gigantic filmed concerts. In a career spanning 40 years, it is estimated that 2 billion people watched one of his televised operas. After taking the role of a painter in Tosca by Puccini in 1978, Luciano Pavarotti became passionate about painting. A number of his works, signed Lupa, still hang on the walls of his house. On this table are some of the artist's lucky charms, the bent nails without which he never went on stage, and his famous handkerchief, which became a prop. A gourmet and unparalleled in the kitchen, Pavarotti paid a high price for his love of good food and wine. Obesity was an important factor in his health problems. He died in this very bedroom on a summer evening in 2007. Throughout the visit, the charisma of the man is felt everywhere, from floor to ceiling. The kitchen, left as it was, gives the impression that the singer, returned from the hereafter, is preparing dinner. Emilia-Romagna has always entertained a close relationship with the arts and cuisine, a symbiosis found in one local product, balsamic vinegar. In Spillamberto, a small village in the province of Modena, the production of this voluptuous liquid is considered an art, practiced since the 16th century. Traditional balsamic vinegar from Modena even has its own brotherhood. In search of the chef-d'oeuvre of the year, its 800 members taste and evaluate more than 1,500 vinegars. The precious liquid is obtained through fermentation of grape must from the best local varieties. It's then stocked in wooden barrels. The batteries of at least 5 barrels are made of oak, cherry wood, mulberry, or juniper, each giving its own characteristic aroma. A genuine family inheritance, this line of century-old barrels is worth a small fortune. Maurizio Fini, the president of the Brotherhood and Grand Master Taster, fully understands this alchemy of taste.
To obtain an excellent vinegar, one of the main ingredients is time. Aging, maturing, and slow concentration are the essential basis of all good things. All good things take time and patience. Good things aren't done in a hurry.
The must matures in the casks for 12 to 25 years, and sometimes more. For Maurizio, this vinegar is not just a simple condiment.
When you taste traditional balsamic vinegar, it's like tasting a sip of the past, which we hope to pass on to our children and grandchildren, like a drop of immortality.
Carrying on eastwards along this tasty and cultural itinerary, the Emilian Way leads us to Bologna, capital of Emilia-Romagna. Founded by the Etruscans in 534 BCE, the city forged its destiny under the Boii, the Romans, then the Lombards. Capital of the Cispadani Republic under Napoleon, it went under pontifical control upon the fall of the emperor, and then joined the Kingdom of Sardinia until the creation of the Kingdom of Italy in 1861. Bologna has always been the city of social progress and knowledge. It abolished serfdom and liberated slaves in the 13th century, 500 years before the French Revolution. In 1088, Bologna, also sometimes known as the Learned, opened one of the first universities in the West. Its anatomical theatre, built in 1649, is a visit not to be missed. This wood-clad amphitheatre was used for body dissection classes. Wooden statues depict the human anatomy. There are also 12 sculptures representing particular figures, such as Claude Gallien, doctor of the gladiators, and some 3rd century Roman emperors. And there's Hippocrates, regarded as the father of Western medicine. Here is Gaspare Tagliacozzi, who invented a nasal grafting technique called the Italian method, which was still used during the First World War to treat the gueule cassée, soldiers who were facially disfigured. The most famous part of the university is undoubtedly its library. On the shelves stand more than 1,000 scientific manuscripts dating back to the beginning of the 18th century. In the main hall, 7,000 crests and inscriptions in honor of the teachers and patrons decorate the walls. Another name for Bologna is the Red, referring to the red roofs and stones of the historic center. The Asinelli and Garisenda towers have become iconic. The historic center is packed with edifices. Bologna is overwhelming by the extent and quality of its architectural heritage. The city partly owes its unique stature to its World Heritage listed porticos. The portico of the Casa Isolani, built in the 13th century with its several hundred-year-old wooden beams, is one of the oldest in the city. As for the portico of the Basilica di Santa Maria dei Servi, built in the 14th century, it is the largest. The streets are filled with treasures. Sometimes you just need to raise your head to contemplate these incredible works. Like here, beneath the portico of the Bank of Italy. Portraits depict the great figures of the country. The famous Renaissance painter Raphael Sanzio, Galileo, mathematician, astrologer, and father of modern science, and Guido of Arezzo, the Benedictine monk who invented musical staff notation, seems to contemplate the passage of time, watching pedestrians come and go. In summer, the arcades are protection against the implacable heat which reigns over Bologna. This unique collection of vaults stretches nearly 40 kilometers in the city center and more than 60 kilometers including the outskirts. The longest gallery of both Bologna and of the world is nearly 4 kilometers long. Starting at the historic center, it takes you to one of the city's most beautiful panoramas, the sanctuary of the Madonna of San Luca. Bologna is also called the Fat because of its culinary tradition. In the grocery shops of the Quadrilatero neighborhood, you find piadina, typical bread of the province, and also mortadella, charcuterie originating in the city. You can also buy tortellini, a type of ravioli originating in the less wealthy parts of Bologna because its stuffing used to consist of leftovers retrieved from the rich. In the fresh vegetable shops, Eva, a young native of the city, is looking for the best ingredients for a typical dish known worldwide, ragu bolognese. Eva belongs to the Cesarine, an association for amateur chefs all around the country. Its members offer tourists a cookery class or just a homemade meal where local recipes can be tried.
I love cooking. As a child, I liked lending a helping hand. And as I grew up, it became an ever-increasing passion. For me, being a Cesarina is about letting others discover traditional Italian cuisine.
Carrots, celery, onion, milk and tomato concentrate, accompanied by a mixture of beef and pork cooked at a low heat for hours.
The sauce takes a long time to make. We like taking our time here to live to the full and eat good things.
Ragu Bolognese accompanies tagliatelle. With the Cesarines, there's no industrial pasta. The precious ribbons are handmade. Flour, eggs, a pinch of salt, but above all, lots of elbow grease and passion.
I find cooking relaxing. I love losing myself in cookery. I'm in my own world. It's a feeling of freedom. Hello, welcome to my house. Welcome to the Cesarine experience. Hello, delighted.
Hello, delighted.
Pleased to meet you. Follow me to the kitchen.
Bring you to my kitchen.
Today, Eva is cooking for a mixed Italian-French couple. Michele was born in the city. He booked a meal at Eva's for himself and his companion with an idea in mind: to show Louise, his French fiancée, that spaghetti bolognese doesn't exist.
She is convinced that our sauce is served with spaghetti, which is unacceptable for me, so I wanted her to taste some real cuisine, traditional Bolognese.
It's not long before Louise is relieved of any misunderstanding.
It's very good, even better than spaghetti. I wouldn't have believed it, but he was right, it's better. We chose to come here because it's more authentic.
It reminds me of how my grandmother made it. It's fantastic.
More than just a meal or a cookery class, the Cesarines are above all an unusual experience, an encounter with the local population. The secret of Italian pasta is in the choice of the wheat. Antique grain with untouched taste quality, which has not been modified to obtain more gluten or greater yield. In Emilia-Romagna, nature is allowed time to prosper and reveal its treasures. Less than 50 kilometers south of Bologna, it's possible to visit one of the traditional mills of the region, the Mulino Mazzone. To grind the grain, power is drawn from the current of rivers and canals. An impressive millstone is used to transform wheat into white gold. In the adjoining room, the good grain is separated from the chaff. A collection of old tools immerses visitors in the daily life of millers of old. We continue our journey in the direction of Ferrara, an unmissable stopover when touring Emilia-Romagna. The first written trace of this city dates back to the 8th century, during the reign of the Lombards. In 1385, after years of war and epidemics, Niccolo II, Marquis of Ferrara, known to be temperamental, became insistent about tax reforms which his people rejected. Scornful of the unrest in the streets, which he violently repressed, the discontent turned into a violent uprising, resulting in the public assassination of the tax minister. The Marquis withdrew his reform and began building a fortress as protection against the population's anger. Today, Este Castle is the city's most important monument. Also called St. Michael's Castle, it's open to visitors. Wall hangings and informative panels line the interior of the edifice. Inclined mirrors make it possible to admire the ceiling frescoes without straining your neck. Damage caused by the earthquake in 2012 is still visible. Listed as a World Heritage Site, the historic centre of Ferrara is a jewel of urbanism of the Italian Renaissance. The Palace of Diamonds, built in the 15th century, is a fine example. It takes its name from the 8,500 blocks of marble cut into diamond shapes which decorate the outside walls. A few streets away, the Schifanoia Palace, literally meaning escape boredom, is one of the essential places to visit. Inside, a series of frescoes beautifully display the techniques of Renaissance artists from Ferrara's prestigious School of Architecture. Commissioned in 1468 by Marquis Borso d'Este, great-grandson of Niccolo II, the works painted to his glory depict everyday scenes linked to the months of the year. For March, the Triumph of Minerva shows the preparing of vines as the Marquis leaves for the hunt. Each month of the year is represented by a divinity on a chariot drawn by different animals. For September, in the Triumph of Vulcan, it's pulled by monkeys. For August, in the Triumph of Ceres, the goddess drawn by bulls symbolizes work in the fields. In the Triumph of Venus for the month of April, the Marquis watches the Palio of St. George and shows generosity by giving money to his jester. The Chariot of Venus is drawn by swans. To the right of it, a young couple seems to concede to the call of springtime. "50 kilometers east of Ferrara, Comacchio is not to be missed. Crisscrossed by an important network of canals, overlooked by small bridges linking 13 isles, the city proposes a romantic setting, to be visited on foot or by batane, the traditional means of travel. But in the middle of an immense wetland, it is nicknamed the Little Venice of Emilia-Romagna. In the 8th century, Comacchio was indeed one of Venice's competitors in the production of salt. At the time, this was a very precious resource because it was essential for food conservation. Rivality in the matter between the two cities went to the point of sparking a war between them in 866. The city is known throughout the country for its eels. In October, during the festival organized in their honor, it's possible to taste them in the streets, cooked in 49 different ways. About 12 kilometers away, the Valle di Comacchio offers magnificent walks through breathtaking countryside. In the traditional fishing shacks, the constant drawing in of nets brings its haul of surprises.
Oh, look! A little eel.
Every weekend, Anna comes for a breath of air and to stock up on fish for the week.
All right, I've got it. Look how beautiful and big it is. It's a golden grey mullet, one of the best. When I come here, I leave the world behind me. There are no more problems. I relax and time stands still. When we leave for home, I'm astonished what time it is, because time isn't the same dimension here. Today we've caught some blue crabs from the Atlantic Ocean. 6 years ago they didn't exist. They've reproduced, and now there are lots of them. They're really voracious, and even eat all our little fish.
The Valle di Comacchio Reserve is one of the largest wetlands in Italy. 300 bird species like flamingos, egrets and heron enjoy these waters, which are rich in food. The reeds are an ideal shelter for reproduction for numerous rare species which migrate to the region. You also find salicornia, an aromatic edible plant known for strengthening the immune system. This reserve is part of the regional park of the Po Delta, the mouth of the eponymous river. Endless swampland next to the sea. The Spiaggia Romea, a gigantic complex, breeds a herd of local equidae, the Cavallo del Delta. Alinda has been taking care of her little protégés for more than 3 years. When out trekking, she shares her passion for these Po Delta horses with holidaymakers.
Nikita was born last May the 7th, and Noah, the little male, was born on the 7th of June. They're born dark and become white as they grow, due to a gene transmitted by the mother. The colour of the colts has evolved to be similar to that of the land. That one's Uno, and the other's called Belle. What a beautiful sight.
"50 kilometers further south, Ravenna is proud of its exceptional heritage. It's recognized as one of the world capitals in terms of mosaics for its incomparable examples from the early Middle Ages. These remarkably preserved early Christian monuments are inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. The most beautiful pieces are gathered here in the Basilica of San Vitale. On the walls of the chapel, the scene of Christ handing the martyr's crown to Saint Vitale. To the right, Ecclesius, the Bishop of Ravenna, presents Jesus with a model of the basilica. Lower down, one of the most famous mosaics of all Byzantine art, Empress Theodora and attendants. The fresco shows her offering a chalice to Christ, ready to pass through the door of the Holy Spirit. Opposite, the sacrifice of Abraham, a scene in which the patriarch receives the visit of the 3 angels while preparing to sacrifice his son, Isaac, beneath the eyes and the hand of Moses, perched on Mount Sinai. Close to the basilica, the Piazza del Popolo is the beating heart of the city. Atop 2 columns from the end of the 15th century stand Saint Vitale and Saint Apollinaris, the first bishop of Ravenna. The pedestrian streets are packed with shops and restaurants where one can get pleasantly lost all the way to the tomb of Dante. Inside the monument lie the remains of the famous author of the Divine Comedy, one of the major works in Western literature. Above the sepulchre, a relief shows him at his lectern, absorbed in what he's reading. An old burning oil lamp hangs from the ceiling. It is filled with Tuscan olive oil, a gift from Florence, the city where the poet was born. Every day at the end of the afternoon, enthusiasts give a public reading of the Divine Comedy before the tomb. Off southwards to the sea, where we arrive in Cesenatico. This city in the province of Forlì-Cesena is famous for its port canal built in the 16th century from plans drawn by Leonardo da Vinci. Today it's an open-air museum where one can admire many boats of the period, such as the Batana, a small flat-bottomed vessel 4 to 9 meters long, mainly used for navigating the Po and the canals. The Bragozzo is a go-anywhere 12-meter-long vessel, which was often used for sea fishing. Thanks to its shallow draft, it could also navigate waters which were not very deep. The Trabacalo, a Venetian sailing coaster of the 15th century, had a crew of 10 to 20 sailors. It was a slow but reliable cargo vessel with a capacity of 200 tons. The sails carry the family crests of the owners. Snakes were often represented being trampled by a horse, representing the victory of good over evil and intended to ward off evil spirits. The eyes at the prow of the boat scrutinized the horizon and watched over the crew. Most of these boats remain moored most of the year, but volunteers from the Seafaring Museum at Cesenatico organize sea trips aboard a 1928 sailing boat, which they have entirely restored. Giancarlo Bartoli, a retired engineer, is the skipper.
Everything I touch, I made myself. Everything you see, we made 30 or 40 years ago. And it's still here. When I'm no longer around, this boat will still be here. It's my passion. I feel as though I'm going back in time to antiquity. This is the type of boat used by Garibaldi.
This great Italian hero led numerous military campaigns to unify his country. On the 2nd of August 1849 in Cesenatico, Garibaldi commandeered 13 fishing boats like this one to try and save Venice, which had fallen into the hands of the Austrian crown. While Emilia-Romagna is a land undeniably steeped in history, the region has an equally impressive present. This part of the Adriatic coast is reputed for its immense seaside resorts. 20 kilometers south of Cesenatico, the city of Rimini is the finest example. Since 1843, its 15 kilometers of beaches are home to one of Europe's largest resorts. The rows of deck chairs look like villages standing in the sand. Every year, more than 1.5 million tourists come to spend their holidays beneath the parasols of Rimini. In the beach clubs between two dips, you can practice all sorts of sports. The latest craze, the sand bike, is very popular at the end of the afternoon. In Rimini, the cult of the body is the main religion practiced between the sunbeds. But if you take a trip further inland, Rimini has a completely different side to offer. Inhabited since prehistory, the site became a strategic port of the Roman Empire more than 2 centuries before our era. The Bridge of Tiberius, built in 21 AD, is one of its most beautiful vestiges. The typical narrow streets of Borgo San Giuliano are in contrast with the modernity of the seafront, a dip in the typical post-war Italian atmosphere. This popular setting was the main source of inspiration for a famous Italian filmmaker native to Rimini, Federico Fellini. The walls of the neighborhood recount the story of La Dolce Vita. Scenes from his most famous films are painted here, such as the 1975 Oscar-winning Amarcord. The entire city is devoted to its local artist. No less than 3 museums are dedicated to him. The Castel Sismondo has some very original installations. From room to room, the visitor takes a cognitive journey immersed in the poetic imagination of Fellini, like here with The Dreamer, an 8-meter-long tissue sculpture of Anita Ekberg, the actress who played the role of Sylvia Rank in La Dolce Vita. These confessionals play interviews with close collaborators of the artist. Here, an interactive installation allows you to see many of the director's archives. And thus our trip across Emilia-Romagna draws to a close. A rich and colorful Italian experience, leaving many happy memories and, above all, a burning desire to return.